You can look rich, or you can be rich, but you can't be both. In a world where flaunting is praised, living simply has become the highest form of power. This isn't outdated advice about saving money. It's a direct rebellion against a culture of showing off that's destroying an entire generation's freedom. You think looking poor means being poor? Wrong. It's the art of financial invisibility, a stealth move by those quietly amassing control. If you've ever felt stuck despite a high income, what you're missing isn't more money, it's a strategy. And it begins with one radical decision: to stop looking rich. So why is looking poor actually the fastest way to become truly wealthy? It starts right here. The rich look trap is crushing a generation. True wealth never needs to impress. But the modern world has built a sick game where people spend money on image, not assets. Looking rich has never been cheap. It's the fastest spending trap humans ever invented. People are buying admiration with their own financial insecurity. You can earn a high income, but if you spend it all, you have nothing but pressure. Appearance is expensive. Freedom is priceless. Don't justify reckless spending with "I deserve it" if that reward destroys your future. A glamorous lifestyle funded by 100% of your income or more is a guaranteed path to collapse. When you live to maintain an image, you're renting your life, not owning it. Every ounce of effort goes into feeding others' expectations. This is modern-day slavery, voluntarily going broke for applause. Here's the brutal truth: millions aren't poor because they don't earn. They're poor because they can't say no. They spend under social pressure, out of ego, to escape inadequacy. But the cost is long-term instability. Looking rich is the shortest road to going broke. Looking poor is the long road to real assets. Which side you choose determines your freedom. Because in this world, whoever controls their spending controls their fate. Looking rich is the behavior of the financially weak. The strong don't need to show off. It's the weak who must prove their worth through external signals. Looking rich doesn't make you stronger. It makes you more dependent on how others see you. You don't drive a luxury car for transportation. You drive it to be seen. But do those stairs help pay your monthly bills? The price of maintaining an image is often your freedom and your future. True wealth doesn't need validation. Fake wealth lives for the flash. When you build your identity around spending, you're standing on rotting ground. The moment income drops, your image shatters. Life becomes a frantic race between paychecks and social expectations. You're not allowed to pause, not allowed to rest, not allowed to fail. That's not living, that's performing. And what burns on that stage isn't just your money, it's your mental peace. The wise don't walk into that trap. The shocking truth is this: intentionally looking poor is the choice of the powerful, because they know they're walking against the herd. They don't need admiration, they're buying control. They don't need brands, they need financial leverage. When you dare to live simply, you declare, "I don't need your validation to know my worth." And from that position, true wealth begins to grow. Looking poor is the most elite form of freedom. Looking poor is a survival tactic and a weapon. Many assume simple living comes from lack. False. Simple living is a strategy, and only the sharpest choose it. While others use income to upgrade their image, the smart use it to upgrade their assets. One buys a flashy car for admiration, the other invests that money to never need a job again. The difference between looking rich and being rich lies in how they handle every dollar. Simple living isn't slowing down, it's a silent sprint toward dominance. Looking poor is the perfect disguise. It grants you invisibility in a loud world. No one asks you for money, no one targets your assets, no one expects you to pay for everything. When people don't see you as a wallet, you're free to act. You can say no, downsize, pivot. Normal is the most powerful shield in a society addicted to spectacle. Looking poor isn't weakness, it's strategic containment. Everyone says they want to be rich, but no one wants to be mistaken for poor, and that's why they stay broke. True wealth doesn't need to be proven. It needs to be protected. People with serious assets never broadcast them. They hide, control, and dodge attention. Because once you're labeled rich, you lose the power to say no. Looking poor keeps you out of the praise trap, the pressure, and the subtle extortion. In the money game, the one who keeps their options wins. Debt is a legal prison, society applauds. Every time you look rich with something you don't truly own, you're signing another financial death sentence. Leasing luxury cars, buying oversized homes, maxing out credit cards just to keep up appearances. These are chains, not trophies. Others call it adulthood. They celebrate debt as a milestone. But in reality, you're selling freedom for a photo. Debt is a shackle disguised as success. Once you sign, you're not living, you're serving a sentence. Society has brilliantly rebranded liabilities as status symbols. The more you spend, the more applause you get. The more you show off, the more you're praised. But behind the glamour, quiet bills are burning your future down. Everything you own is demanding rent in return. And if you miss a payment, those pretty things eat your actual assets. Looking poor isn't retreating. It's escaping the self-destruction parade the masses are dancing in. Pause before upgrading your phone, buying another luxury bag, or trading up your car just to stay relevant. Ask yourself, is this an asset or a liability? Will this make me richer or poorer? If the answer doesn't scream investment, it's dead weight. Real wealth doesn't come from expensive things, it comes from invisible decisions. Looking poor is a filter. Whatever can't survive that filter doesn't deserve your money. Luxury aesthetics are starving you from the inside. Those who look rich often live in a constant state of survival. Every month is a desperate sprint to cover bills, uphold image, and sustain a lifestyle they can't afford. They don't work out of passion, they work out of fear. The luxury car becomes a burden. The overpriced home becomes a psychological cage. They're shackled by decisions once praised as success. The harsh truth: if all your income goes toward appearances, you're not free. You're in a golden cage with no door. In contrast, those who live below their means thrive in silence. They drive average cars, live in modest homes, spend wisely, but have power. They can invest, pivot, rest, or exit whenever they choose. They don't feed an image. They build a future. And that control makes all the difference. When you're not pressured to spend for show, you can put your money into what actually grows. Stocks, property, skills, or your own business. That's the foundation of lasting wealth. The issue isn't how much you earn, it's how much you keep. Minimalist living, looking poor, is really about reallocating power. These people don't waste on impulse. They fund silent income streams. They don't flaunt salaries, they buy future freedom. Every dollar saved today becomes tomorrow's leverage. And you can't invest if you're constantly bleeding money to maintain a costume. Looking poor is the high art of asset preservation. Looking rich makes you a target to the world. When you wear wealth on your sleeve, you become bait. People no longer see who you are, they see what they can extract. Friends borrow, coworkers expect, strangers calculate, your presence becomes transactional. And worse, you lose the ability to say no, because you've branded yourself as someone who has it. This is the prettiest trap society ever built. It looks like admiration, but it functions like obligation. And if you're not careful, it will devour your peace. Looking poor is elite self-defense. When you don't flaunt, you reclaim your freedom. You're no longer expected to rescue, sponsor, or entertain. You're no longer seen as an ATM with legs. Instead, you attract real relationships. People drawn to your values, not your valuables. This is rare in an age of performance. And those who control their financial image protect both their money and their mind. Silence isn't weakness, it's a strategic perimeter. You want happiness or admiration? You rarely get both. People who live to impress are chained to the roles they create. People who live simply are free to move, speak, and choose. But to live that way, you must walk away from the stage. You must have the strength to look poor, even if you're rich. That's when you vanish from predators' radar. You don't need walls. No one knows you're guarding an empire. Real wealth is built from invisible, repeated actions. Poor people chase grand moments. Truly wealthy people trust boring consistency. The difference lies in daily choices. Looking poor isn't deprivation, it's liberation. It frees up resources for long-term plays. Skipping one party becomes one more share purchased. Forgoing an impulsive purchase becomes another month of financial security. Wealth doesn't appear in viral photos. It accumulates in thousands of small, quiet decisions made when no one's watching. Anyone who's built sustainable wealth knows consistency beats speed. Someone who saves $5 daily and invests with intention will outpace the gambler chasing a jackpot. Looking poor is discipline disguised as simplicity. No sparkle, no applause, just bricks laid one at a time. One skipped coffee, one delayed upgrade, one decision to stay under the radar. Each one is a high-value move the masses will never comprehend. Sustainable wealth doesn't make noise. It grows in silence, fueled by rejecting short-term cravings. True prosperity isn't about one magic deal. It's about 1,000 times you chose not to spend. The one chasing claps may win the moment, but the one looking poor secures the next decade. And in the long game, the winner isn't the one shining. It's the one still standing when the crowd has collapsed. Real wealth needs no audience. Today's world defines wealth by what people can see. The car must be expensive, the house must be massive, the watch must sparkle. Social media has created a mass hallucination. If you're not flaunting it, you must not have it. But reality is brutal. The louder someone showcases, the less stable they often are. The quieter one is, the more control they likely possess. True wealth doesn't crave spectators. When you truly hold financial power, you don't need others to know. You don't even want them to. Social approval is the soft drug of the financially insecure. They spend to be praised. They show off to feel important. They live on dopamine generated from likes and compliments. Meanwhile, their savings dry up. Their financial plans stall. Their future burns for temporary applause. Looking poor is the antidote. It teaches you this truth. Wealth isn't in how others see you. It's in how little you need their validation. Stop living under the gaze of others. Start living by your own financial standard. When you no longer use money to impress, you begin using money to influence. When you don't need anyone to confirm you're rich, you start designing your own game. Real wealth is self-determined, not a collection of luxury goods. Looking poor is a silent rebellion against shallow consumer culture and the trap of external image. Freedom is the most expensive asset the masses sell cheap. You can own the luxury car, the million-dollar condo, the premium everything. But if you can't quit your job tomorrow, you're not free. If you tolerate toxic environments because of bills, you're not in control. Looking rich is the bait. It turns you into a servant hiding in a wealthy costume. Only when you live beneath your means do you begin buying what the masses lost: choice, time, and calm. Freedom doesn't come from possessions, it comes from power over your own life. Looking poor is a calculated rebellion against a world addicted to performance. It's not about limits, it's about optimization. When you no longer chase image, you regain choice. When you don't borrow to impress, you remain agile. When you stop feeding the facade, you feed your future. This is the great shift, from being seen to being sovereign, from being pressured to being the one who sets terms. The so-called self-reward is killing this generation. Every impulsive splurge trades a piece of your future for a moment's comfort. Truly wealthy people don't reward their ego, they fund their mission. They know discipline feels better than any luxury ever will. Looking poor is not about denial, it's intentional living. It's a quiet power that comes from knowing your money obeys you. Not your emotions, not the crowd, and not the algorithm. Financial peace is the ultimate weapon. Don't dream of mansions if you're losing sleep over debt. Don't call yourself successful if you're silently drowning in lifestyle pressure. The raw truth is this: people aren't chasing money, they're chasing the peace that money should bring. And that peace can't be bought through spending. It's earned through strategy, discipline, and the courage to say no. Looking poor is a tool. Every item you don't buy today is one less threat to your future freedom. Financial peace means you don't need to beg. You don't need to tolerate disrespect for a paycheck. You can walk away, rest, change paths without panic. You can speak your mind without fearing income loss. No one can grant you this power. You must build it through financial decisions made in private. Looking poor is a wall protecting not just your net worth, but your dignity. When no one controls your money, no one controls your voice. True confidence isn't in the brands you wear. It's in your ability to stay calm when others flex. True wealth isn't in what you show, it's in what you protect. Looking poor is the refusal to play a game designed to keep you broke. It's choosing peace over performance, foundation over facade. Because in the end, the lightest life belongs to the one holding the most, quietly. The world will keep applauding the loud, the flashy, the wasteful. But true rulers move in silence. Looking poor isn't weakness, it's dominance redefined. It's the refusal to rent freedom for applause. While others beg to be seen, you build in shadows. While they chase image, you collect power. This isn't minimalism, it's strategic warfare. The car, the suit, the show, they're distractions. Freedom is the real prize, and it belongs to those who can walk away at any time. Wear the same shirt, drive the quiet car, say nothing. Because the richest life is not the one admired, it's the one untouchable. And the true elite? They never look the part. They own the part, in silence, with precision, forever.